Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Simon on the Sofa. As you can see, a little overlay here, just thanking the patrons of the sofa. And you know who you are. This week we've had Base Mosquito join us, and the little community is growing as people go over to this link there, patreon.com/Simon on the Sofa. There's a short video to watch. And if you'd like to contribute some small funds from $1, $2, or $5 to support Simon on the Sofa to continue, then please head over to that link. This is, wow, what can I say, right? I want to say a few things today. I know like some of you are following lots of Simon Sofas, some of you just drop in for one, and some of you might have been following the Sofa since way back. I don't even know. Sometimes I say 5 years, 6 years. I genuinely don't remember sometimes when I started. I think it was 2011 when I first started putting conversations out there. There's over 240 videos of some short conversations and some of the longer conversations, over 120 between 30 minutes to an hour, hour and a half, some 2-hour conversations. So the Dalai Lama once said a couple of years back, he said, this is a century of dialogue. So I'd like to start today's conversation really in the essence of what it means to be a true messenger right now on planet Earth. What does it really mean to actually speak out from a place of transparency, speak out what you really want to share in the world, to feel safe enough to speak your truth? And I'm so happy today to invite a guest on the sofa, Chris Paradox, who some of you will well and truly be aware of because you'll be actually coming to this conversation to listen to Chris speak. Chris is very much, in my mind, a kindred spirit. He's a man that decided over 15 years ago to there was more to life. He very much put himself out into the unknown, you could say, very much like myself. He stripped away a lot of things, let go, and just went on a mission. You really, if you look at the video, the description below this video, you can read a little bit about his story and go to his website and read a lot more. But right now I want you to meet him live, and I want to just show up as always, as in transparency. Like, how am I feeling right now? Like, as I speak to you right now, I have two little blisters on my lip, and I've got dry lips because I've been dehydrated the last few days. And I've come to my friend's beautiful house, who's Natalie, because I'm not actually living anywhere right now as a fixed place to live. And she kindly given me up her space. And she said to me, just make sure you go around, use the house and do what you need to do, because she loves Simon on the Sofa and what I'm doing. And at the moment, I've just come back from the Dominican Republic, from working out there, spreading love, doing some retreats, and volunteering in a school to bring anger release and emotional awareness to children, right? And as I bring Chris Paradox on now, Chris is a messenger. You know, he's out there in the world, raising awareness, supporting people to live freely, to follow their bliss, to embrace the miracle that they are, and to actually step out of the conformity and the shackles that we have, for thousands of years, put ourselves in. So I'm going to just, with that in mind, I'm going to just say to Chris, what's alive in you right now? Welcome to Simon on the Sofa. I know our last conversation was some years ago, but you know, you inspire me. I love reading your posts. I love the way that you show up in life. So welcome to the sofa. And yeah, let's drop in with what's alive in you right now.
Thanks, Simon. I'm very happy to be here. I love your intro. I love the transparency. If I was going to say what's alive for me right now, the part of me that's quite vain is a little bit concerned that I put too much coconut oil on my face, so I might be a bit shiny. I feel like I'm in having a water retention day, so I feel a bit puffy. Because we wanted to get the lighting right, I'm sitting in an unusual position for me. Not at my desk, but the other way around, so I'm by the window. So I've got my leg up. I'm not uncomfortable, but I'm not in my comfort zone. But the way you just introduced that, and often the way I perform on stage, is that I do exactly that. I just embrace all the uncomfortable, nervous energy things and just tell the audience before I start, just like you did. I love it. So now that I've said all those things, they don't matter. Exactly. So I'm feeling really good. feeling really excited and really grateful. That's the underlying emotion, is like grateful that I've got this opportunity with this technology, my connection with you, to basically sit online and chat and have hopefully an inspiring conversation that can be recorded and that can reach people and hopefully inspire them. So yeah, I'm grateful.
Beautiful. And actually grateful is something that I remember when we spoke a little while ago. It's like gratitude, like how gratitude is really a vehicle and an access point to what me and you term as love, or just to this embracing life. A few things that have been going on for me recently, Chris, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this. And I know from what you post out there, this is not a new path for us. You and I very much live in essence of the narrative of the more beautiful world. We embrace life. We live in gratitude. We see the magic and the mystery, the wonder, the awe-inspiringly majesty of this beautiful earth, this beautiful universe that we're dancing in. And I very much see that in you, in your smile, in the way that you show up. I know that that's a spark, that's part of your magnetism, But out there at the moment, there's also so much, as always, you get the complete funky Chris paradox. You always get the paradox, right? Which is that, so many people are fearing, this, that, and the other. The end. There's always a damn apocalypse to be focused on. Right now, we've got the 2045, no fish in the sea. We've got the ecocide is just becoming an absolute joke. It's spreading across the world. And you've got this sense that, there's the potential sixth mass extinction that we're facing as humanity on this planet. So you have that sort of the next, it was 2012, now it's 2045, and then it's potentially the sixth mass extinction. And then you've got the crumbling of the economy, you've got the crumbling of all these systems, which I think I speak for you, but I speak for myself. I'm actually happy to see crumbling, and in that sense of crumbling, that chaos, for me, there's richness that's birthing. There's new stuff birthing across the world. The way that the humans are coming together and sort of dissolving their identities is, for me, again, awe-inspiringly. But there's a lot of people out there that might be watching this talk, Chris, that don't feel like that are not dancing in gratitude, that are not seeing the magic. So I'd love to just, whatever spark from what I just shared, I'd love you to just dive in on anything that's sort of, again, fresh with you right now.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's that balance of not living in denial and not living in fluffy land where you can only deal with the world in a positive way when you hide and deny the problems, the darkness, the issues that we have. So I really respect people's whatever they're feeling for the world, their suffering, their concerns, their worries, like what are we going to do? If you do look at the environmental situation, not just climate change, not just fish in the sea, topsoil, the rainforest, etc. It looks really bad. There's no denying it. When you look at the way we treat women, children, the poor, the indigenous peoples, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of suffering in the world, both other species, plants, and human beings. So that shouldn't be denied. So when people look at things like 2045 and stuff like that, I recognize that very human aspect of what are we going to do, and this is terrible. And at the same time, I also recognize that Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talked about something really simple that I think we can all understand, is that we have 2 circles in our lives. We have our circle of concern and our circle of influence. And if you're a sort of caring person, I'd imagine most of the people who are watching this are caring people. They care about others, they care about people in other countries, they care about the environment, they care about justice, they care about love, etc., etc. So if you're a caring person, when you look at the world, you look at so many things to be concerned about. Your circle of concern is huge. I mean, literally, it's the whole planet, because the whole planet is suffering.
Exactly.
And at the same time, if you're a normal person, if you're not Nelson Mandela, or, if you're not one of these giants of the world stage, your circle of influence is quite small. In fact, and basically all the problem that you described of people who don't see the bliss and don't see the gratitude is the gap between the circle of influence and the circle of concern is huge. So you care about the whole world, but actually your influence, for most people, your circle of influence is you. It's you. It's how you look at the world, how you respond to people, how you treat people, how you live your life, etc., etc. Most people's circle of influence, it certainly starts with you. The center of it is with you. And then it extends out to your family, friends, community. If you do things like this, the people you see reach on the internet. So the first thing we have to do is recognize the gap between our circle of influence and circle of concern. And if you try to I cannot do anything about what's happening in the rainforest right now. I can't do anything about what's happening in the oceans, directly right now, like that huge global problem. I'm going to drive myself mad, depressed, impotent, hopeless, all of these things burnt out, if I try to address my circle of concern before addressing my circle of influence, because the circle of concern is too big. But my circle of influence, so my focus for those people is, first of all, if you really do want to help save the planet, you need to really focus on your circle of influence. And that basically means your perceptions, your beliefs, your interactions, your energy, your health, your everything about you that can positively impact the world. So you've got to start with getting healthy, getting enough rest, eating well, having good relationships, like just the really basic stuff, like being a mature, healthy human. Like the world is the way it is because there's not many transparent, healthy, authentic humans. Like, that's the reason. So start with your circle of influence. And then as you grow, and I call it shining. For me, like it's taken me 49 years, I'm 49, but it's taken me a very long journey of making mistakes and being a dick. And, honestly, I've been a dick for most of my life. I've been a taker and a dick. I really have. And as my friends and ex-girlfriends will tell you, but my friends now and my beloved now will tell you, oh, he's a good man. And going from dick to good man is a fucking hell of a journey. But it starts with, for me, it starts with my core, which is my soul. So I describe soul, the feeling of soul, I describe it as following your joy, facing your fears, and expressing yourself creatively and authentically. When I do those things, what I find is that my circle of influence goes crazy. Like, as you pointed out, I've lived my life from that place as much as possible. And I've been fortunate enough to touch thousands of people's lives, to inspire thousands of people. And, my greatest honor is that thousands upon thousands of times, people have said to me, thank you, you've helped me in some way. And that's a circle of influence. So if you look after yourself, I think if you follow your joy, if you face your fear and you express yourself creatively, your circle of influence will grow. And I genuinely think the best that any individual can do, and this is my practice and what I want to encourage people, the best that we can do to address the massive global problems of our circle of concern is to shine. And for me, that means raising the vibration of every room you enter. It sounds impossible. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds too much. And maybe it is, but that's my goal. That's my goal. And I do it most of the time, if not all of the time. And it doesn't drain me. Because the beautiful thing about shining your light is that the more you do it, the more you get connected with that inexhaustible supply of light. Exactly.
Good. Sorry, I was just agreeing. If there's more, drop it on because it's beautiful.
No. That's it. Really, that was a nice point to finish. It really doesn't drain you. It's not impossible. I am an ordinary bloke who's having an extraordinary life. I am as ordinary as they come. I am as normal. I'm as fucked up. I have all of the same problems, all of the same issues. You know what I mean? But I live in. Sorry, I knew that was going to happen. I'm getting excited there, Simon. Let's see if we can balance this back.
Okay.
But I live in a magical world. I live in the more beautiful world. I live in it already. Like, I live in it already. I've lived in it for a long time. And I can see all the problems in the world. But I realize that the first thing I have to do is create a little bubble of the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible, and take it everywhere. Like everywhere I go, take it, so that other people can enjoy it and go, oh, there's another more beautiful world. And the more people who do that, the more people can go, oh, there's another world, there's another way, there's another way. So you've got to take it with you. I call it taking the party with you. Like, that's my job, is wherever I go, take the high vibe, take the love, take the light. Don't expect to find it there. Like, don't expect to find it there. Bring it with you.
Yes. Wow. Wow. I mean, we could. That's enough. What we on? How long we on? What we on? What we on?
Should we finish there?
Yeah. Well, that's like, it's like when we first spoke in May. It's like, so. For me, you've just summarized it so beautifully, and I love the circle of concern and the circle of influence. That's really beautiful. I really appreciate you bringing that to me and to the viewers today, because, you know, isn't that so rich, you know, because we get so caught in atrophy and lethargy and tiredness when we look out there and people see the vastness of, like you described, the suffering. I mean, come on, you know, thousands of years ago, Buddha and many others have said life is difficult, life is suffering, life is. So it's like, that's okay. Let's get, you know, when we get to grips with that and go, okay, life is suffering, life is difficult. Perfect. Now I know that. I don't need to keep bitching about that and moaning about that and creating drama about that. I can just move on. That's in the bag. Now it's, how do I respond to that knowing, and how do I live? And like you know, like you said, I love that. I take the party, you know, take the light. And you know, my partner Dara always says, you know, yeah, we take the light to the darkness, because, you know, the darkness is not going to come to the light, right? It's not going to say, hey, I think, guys, we need to go over there. It's like, it's staying well and truly away. And what I really love as well is, I love your realness. This is what I've loved about you and your writings, and why we are kindred spirits in this more beautiful world that we are thankfully able to and privileged to say. Because you know what? I love it when you say you was a dick. Damn straight I was a dick. You know, it's like, man, I was a burglar, a thief. I was derogatory to women. I was like trying to be nice to, you know, seeing my mother go through derogatory suffering through physical and verbal abuse from her partners. And I didn't want to become that man. But even in my actions to try to be a nice man, in my ignorance, I was still being horrible, cheating on the women that I were with, cheating on them in my mind, and so on. And like, just living an unconscious reality. And like you, I love what you said as well. And I want to repeat it for the viewers, because it's really important. Like, when you decide to not be a dick, I'm going to use that word. It's so great. I read something the other day, Chris, just a little manifesto, and it said on there, don't be a dick. There's enough of them in the world already, right? And it was like, and it really, again, you've just used the word again, this term, because the point is that when you do make a decision to go, hey, I want to be a more conscious human being. I want to be a more loving human being. I want to work on myself. I want to heal and clean out and purify that which in me that I now realize is not pure. Man, there's work to be done, right? There is work to be done. And you know, and I think what people try to do, and again, you sort of said it, we could just dance in this area all day long, you and I know we're going to be in agreement of a lot of what we say, but you said it so lovely. You know, when you realize that you're just denying it and you're trying to hide from it, once you have the awareness, it's like, that's why everybody often says, Chris, when I meet people, like, ignorance is bliss, right? To come to actually do the work to go, hey, I've got to purify myself. And I totally love, I'm going to love everything you say, right? But listen, for the viewers out there, what Chris just said is gold dust. He just said, if you didn't hear, you can rewind it if I don't say it clear enough. He just said that you are the more beautiful world, then you take that more beautiful world around, yeah? But to live in your joy and bliss, that in itself creates more of the circle of influence. And as you create that thriving buzz of more of the circle of influence, you're actually helping the global situation on all levels. And I think I'll just leave it there. I know in essence, I've just repeated and agreed to everything Chris said, but for people listening, like, you might listen to one conversation. You might be a YouTube person that listens to lots of different conversations. There's loads of different opinions in the world. You know, mine and Chris's are just, you know, one sort of version of the multiple realities that are here to experience. But if you're here, like Chris said, as a caring human being, there's the message of do the personal transformation work, do the inner work, go within or go without. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're a Buddhist, a meditator, whether you read the writings of the Buddha or not. The point is that personal transformation is an inside job. You have to do the work. And my message on these conversations for years now is, if you watch my conversations from the one at the beginning, going out there and realizing that I was love and I was beyond words magnificent and I was now dancing in a miracle in 2007, when I had that peak experience, as Carl Jung would call it, just one of many, but that was a peak one. That was like the ultimate, like that was a kick up the butt about 4 or 5 times, right? When that happened, it then says after the ecstasy, do the laundry. You have to do the laundry work so that you can then be in an everyday state of ecstasy, which Chris is now talking about, which I'm talking about. But trust me, there is no roadmap. And maybe, and we can, Chris he's done online courses, he's done works, he's constantly reinventing himself. He's now got this beautiful thing, which I'm going to ask him about to talk about today, this method of getting clear on your purpose and so on. But it's not me and Chris. I'm from Council Estate. If I can access this place of everyday ecstasy, you can too, right? So jump on board, follow your calling, follow that bliss, jump into your hero's journey, realize it's all part of it. And let's create more people in the more beautiful world so that together we actually transform this whole damn, man, that's what buzzes me up, man. I'm getting excited. Chris, take over.
I love it. So in terms of doing the work, that's everyone knows that deep down, but what is the work? Because there's lots of courses and trainings and things that you can do, and I'm not knocking those things, but in my journey, and I'm sure most people know my story, I was managing director of an advertising agency, read Conversations with God, had a spiritual epiphany, what the hell am I doing with my life? Read Mark Twain's quote, the 2 most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. Ended up going to live under a tree in Battersea Park for 7 months and sell the big issue. I was there for 7 months, but when I went in there, I thought I might be there for the rest of my life. I'd given up. I was like, universe, you've messed up my life. My wife's left me. My mum's disowned me. My friends think I've gone crazy. I know the life I was living for these last 35 years actually wasn't my life. I was doing it from this idea of that's what I should do. I was conforming, doing what my mum wanted me to do, doing what society wanted me to do. Yes, you've woken me up to the fact that there is this universe of love, and actually I have a responsibility to others and the planet, and it's not all about me, etc., etc., etc. But I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I have no idea, and I have no place in the world. I can't work for a corporation. I tried working for a charity. I saw the underbelly of what a lot of the charities are, which is 80% of the money goes to paying directors' salaries. So I got disillusioned with the charity sector.
Right.
And left, I read my David Icke. I was reading channeled material, everything. I was into all of it, but right. I couldn't see my place. And I just said, I'm going to be a bum. I give up. I don't care. Until you show me why I'm here, what is the purpose of my life? I know there is one, but until you show me what it is, I'm just going to sell the big issue and live in a park. That literally was it. Right. And, I've told this story many times. I won't go into too much detail, but under that tree in that park for 7 months, I had a kind of Eckhart Tolle-like experience in that I had a mystical experience. I had a peak experience. Right. And like yourself, like many people, I've had many since, and they certainly inform my view of the world. They inform my life, my experience and everything. But I came to the same point that you did. So I've had more peak experiences than most people have had hot dinners. I've literally had tons. But exactly as you said, after the ecstasy, the laundry, it's this peak crash thing that's not sustainable. Like I love my life and I'm grateful for the experiences I've had. But maybe 7 years ago, I realized this isn't sustainable. I can't keep going to these incredible, mystical, magical peaks and then going into a depression of hopelessness and helplessness and everything we were talking about. Can't keep doing that. So I've kind of been on about 7-year journey of how can I balance it out? How can I keep that high? How can I keep that light? How can I keep that sense of love and connection without crashing? How can I make it every day? And so in terms of doing the work, what I've discovered is that your life, in terms of what it reflects back to you and the lessons it teaches you and the challenges it brings you, is all you need. You actually don't need, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a spiritual tradition or a practice and all these kind of things, and they're good, and I do them too. But actually, your life is all you need. Like, if you commit, and that's what it is. There's a saying that you must want enlightenment like a drowning man wants air. And I found that to be true. You must, if you want to shine everywhere you go, if you want to raise the vibration everywhere you go, if you want to basically, as your partner said, be a light unto the darkness and curse it not, be a candle unto the darkness and curse it not. If you want to do the one thing that we can all do to change the world, like literally, if you think about it, the world is the way it is because there's a lot of darkness in the world. And the only way to deal with darkness is not to fight it, not to protest it, not to get angry at it, not to call it wrong, not to debate it. It's to fucking shine. That's the only thing you need to do. If you shine, the darkness goes immediately. The problem with the world is not enough people are shining. That's the only problem. So the one thing you need to do is take care of your role in this complex, magnificent, beautiful world, which contains a lot of shadow, is to shine. And the easiest way to do that, as I said, first, number one, follow your heart and soul, follow your joy. That is your lighthouse navigation system. It's going to take you to places that will cause you to do the second one, face your fears. It's going to challenge you. It's going to bring you into situations with other people where you're going to need to be vulnerable, authentic, transparent, courageous, empathetic, compassionate. Yeah. So just that alone, following your joy, will take you to facing your fears. Then you'll see your shadow, then you'll see your patterns, then you'll see your shit, and then you'll become aware of what you need to do. And as you do it, you will have these choices. I can choose fear or love. I can choose fear or love. I can choose fear or love. And you will be able to creatively find ways to do your best in every situation. And you'll realize, oh, I've got levels, I've got spectrums, I've got options. And then you follow your joy, and then more fear. And it's a process, and your life will take care of it. Like, that's what I found is like, I had a very specific set of challenges, which I'll tell you about because I think it's important. So to add this kind of thing, that I'm an ordinary person having an extraordinary experience. So there's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about Simon, except that we recognize that because we're not special, it doesn't mean that we can't make a difference. Yeah, you don't have to be special to make a difference. Everyone can make a difference. And actually,
I want you to continue sharing them. But you know what? One of the things I want to throw in there is that when we have a realization of that, and we spoke again, we sort of mentioned this before. But within that, when you realize you're not special, you allow your specialness of who you really are to come through. It's like that reverse dichotomy again, because, you know, at the core, everyone's a damn miracle, right? And when you actually start to shine, you realize you are a miracle. But like, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. It's like, you know, you say, like, we realize we're not special in the sense of how I've all, you know, in comparison to everyone else out there. And then within that, specialness arises.
I'm not special, but I'm a fucking miracle. You know, that's basically what it is. It's like, we're all a miracle, and I'm a miracle. So you don't get much more special than that. But what tends to happen is that people see people doing amazing things in the world, like these amazing, there's so many people doing so much amazing work in the world. And and people's reaction is, I couldn't do that. They're special.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm addressing. And what I'm saying is that person that you're looking at who's amazing, you know, they might be intelligent, they might have some talent, but so have you. But what the real difference is that they've committed to their soul and their purpose. Like every great person you know who's been a humanitarian, who has helped a lot of people or has helped, the environment, every single one of them, I guarantee you, is on a mission.
Right.
That's the difference. Right. That's the only difference between these great people and you. You're not on a mission. You don't know the purpose of your life. You haven't committed fully to your heart and soul. When you do, you can do things you'd never dream you could do. Right. Never dream. And that's my experience. Is like I can't believe I've done a lot of the things that I've done. And I recognize that I've only done them because by committing to my heart and soul, I've basically got the universe on my side. And it's literally like having an army of angels. Like I have this funny thing, is like that expression, I'm on the side of the angels. Like I actually am. Like the amount of magic and help and assistance I get just when I need it, whenever I need it, I can't help but think, wow, the universe is on my side. And there's no better feeling than the universe being on your side. So you've just got to meet the universe halfway. Commit to your joy, face your fears, creatively express yourself, and then it gets a lot easier. But bridging that gap, that's your choice, and that's the work. The work is, I'm going to learn from my life. I'm going to reflect on my experience. I'm going to observe. I'm going to be aware of what comes up for me. I'm going to be a real person that allows themselves to feel what they feel and respond to what they respond to. And I'm just going to be real and present and notice. And that's enough. Believe me, that's the work. Like consciousness, consciously living your life by being aware of what's going on inside and outside, and how you're relating, as you said, how you're relating to your experience of the world.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and it's lovely because, you know, one of the sayings that I have often is simplicity is divinity. It's a beautiful saying that I like to live by. And whenever I'm working with people or I'm coaching people, I'm in a workshop or an event, I'm always listening to the dialogue that people are having within themselves. So when we start to talk about what you just described, like this personal awareness, self-awareness, conscious awareness, whichever term we like to choose here, or the you beautiful people listening would like to, you know, that you understand in your world, is that if we really embody that the outer experience that you're having is a reflection or a projection, you could say, from the inner experience that's going on within your body. So if you're in turmoil, if you're in suffering, if you constantly gossip, if you're constantly assuming and personalizing, if you're constantly lying, if you're constantly moaning and just your very nature is feeding and drawing energy from the negative aspects of yourself, the people around you, and the world, then what happens is, you know, where focus goes, energy flows. So all of a sudden, you're actually focusing in the areas that you want to enlarge in. So then your reality starts to become more of what you're actually putting out. And then your internal experience becomes that. So, you know, you start to feel a bit maybe cold, resentful, regretful. Maybe you have a lot of envy and jealousy going on within you. And this is really what I call, and Eckhart Tolle calls, the pain body, the emotional pain body, the wounds within us. That actually, there's a wonderful story which I've been using recently about the two wolves, which some of you, if you've been watching or following my Facebook posts, you might see that I post this every now and again, and it's the two wolves. So there's the white wolf and the black wolf. And this old Cherokee grandfather was telling his grandson a story around these two wolves and how there's a fight going on inside of us. And one is, the white wolf is, you know, is all about peace and transparency and openness and expression and unity and love and positivity, and, you know, and coming from that space and seeing the world as a beautiful gift. And the black wolf is really fighting for, you know, the old white and, you know, light and dark story, but, you know, fighting for, you know, anger, aggression, conflict, feeds off suffering, feeds off your negative thoughts and your unworthiness and your story of imperfection. And basically, the boy at the end just says to him, well, you know, that sounds like a hardcore fight, but which wolf wins? And the grandfather just simply turns around and says, the one that you feed. And you may have heard that before, and it might be a very simple story, as they are the best metaphors to actually bring some awareness to our life. But when you take responsibility, as Chris said, and I'd love you to speak a little bit about this, Chris, is when you take responsibility of your life, or you step in, you have a few of these epiphanies or whatever, you just start to go, wow, one life, my beautiful parents, whether they had a hard time or not, whether they maybe abused me or not, whether they were unconscious or not, they brought me to this reality. I'm now here. I'm alive. I made it through 200,000 sperm cells that were racing towards a beautiful egg, a womb, and then that beautiful body accepted one of them. They say that the female body, the womb actually decides and accepts the one that it wants in, right? So from that place, you then were born. So you didn't go through an abortion, you didn't experience a miscarriage, and you're still here now listening to this conversation, right? That's a done deal. It's enough. It's enough. You're already enough. You're already perfect. You're here. It's done deal. So I think that brings me to what Chris is saying, which is, if we then say follow your joy, and actually, Chris, this is something I want to fire back at you and hear what you've experienced with the people you've been working with and journeying with, is that people get a bit confused in my experience of joy. So what happens is that they start going, oh, well, yeah, well, my joy is I want to go and be who I want to be and do what I want to do. And I want to, you know, what if my joy is just taking drugs and not giving a shit about the world and not and all this? And it's like, what I'm always saying is that deep in your core, what is your joy? It's like, that's a meditation in itself. I'm going to just throw that out there. What's your experience, Chris, when it comes to maybe you stepping into your joy or navigating your way through that? Or the people you now work with and coach and mentor, etc., when they are coming to you and going, you know, it's okay hearing Joseph Campbell say, follow your bliss, but most people don't even know what their bliss is. So, yeah, jump in on that one.
Absolutely. Great question. And before I answer that, I just want to quickly go back to the story of the two wolves. Yeah, great story, classic, very simple. I just would have liked it if they'd have swapped the wolves around and made the white one, the one that's all negative, and the black one for a change, you know, the one that's all positive. It would have been nice, wouldn't it, just for a change?
Well, no, but you know what? Listen, I love that you've even brought that up. Yeah, so why don't we do that? Why don't we start telling that story from the other way around?
Let's tell it the other way around, just to mess with people's minds a little bit and just realise that, you know, black is not necessarily associated with bad all the time, you know.
Yeah, and well, and also, actually, no, I'm glad you brought that up, because you know what, as well, we can hold there for a second. This is another thing, actually. When you do emotional work, I do emotional release work with people. I do anger release and emotional release, right? And this is the real key point. I'm so happy you said that, Chris, is this. There are no bad or good emotions. There are just expressed or suppressed. This was huge for me. I don't know if you've come across this, Chris, but this was huge for me, because guess what? The black wolf or the white wolf, whichever bloody wolf, they are not, there's no bad. Like when you go, this is about layers. So you have to get to the layers. First of all, we're in this world of duality, and we've all been caught up in these crazy stories. Like Chris said at the beginning of the conversation, there's very few people out there, you know, living transparently, living their truth, and, you know, following their bliss and actually shining, right? There's less anyway than the 7 billion. I wouldn't know the ratios, but there's less. So the key is that we can't go out there condemning and constantly saying that's bad, that's bad, that's like, even when we start condemning ecocide and we start condemning the fish dying out, if we go just into that's bad, that's wrong, and all that, then we're also going into a place of just condemning and putting people down, right? So it's a real good point you bring up there. It's not about something being right or wrong, good or bad. It's about, is it suppressed or is it expressed? And when we suppress our emotions, we actually suppress ourselves, and that builds up all the anger, resentment, and all of that. Let's call it the white wolf, right? The wolf that's in that negative zone, right? And then when we express ourselves transparently, and we just can come together in conversation and communication, and we come together with a coach or we sit with a friend and we can just express ourselves, I'm pretty certain that everybody on this call, watching this video will agree that you feel free, you feel liberated, you feel open, you feel more accepting of others. You start to have compassion that how others are treating and why they're acting like they're acting. So I just want to throw that out there, that we can, it's a layer to this, right? First of all, we have to maybe see the good and bad and go, no, but then we can start with deeper eyes of compassion. We can start to go, oh, right. Wow, this is because of all the suppression that's taking place that's then creating actions from that negative energy field. So yeah, anyway, Chris, I just want to throw that in there.
No, great. And it actually relates to my answer to your question about my experience of finding your joy and people not even knowing what their joy is. Because as you say, if you suppress, as most of us do, if you suppress the difficult emotions, let's call them, the painful, difficult emotions, you can't help it. You will also suppress the pleasurable, exciting emotions. So the more you suppress and numb, you lose both. And so my answer to your question is that in my experience, most people haven't experienced joy since they were children. They experience substitutes. So music is important. Most people, their music is important to them. And for most people, their access to their joy is through their favorite music. And, you know, I go crazy. I get ecstatic to my favorite music. But for most people, they need a vehicle. They need a substitute, whether it's art, films, sport, running, whatever. These things are wonderful things and they're all true things. But for most people, they're the only way they can get their joy. It's like a drug, you know, I need my joy. So I have to go running, or I have to have sex, or I have to, you know, go and see my favorite band, or I have to go clubbing every week, or whatever it is.
Right.
So we build these substitutes into our life so that we get a taste of joy. But, you know, the joy that I'm talking about, soul joy, is inherent. Children have it. Just watch a child entertain themselves with nothing, like some make-believe nothing. Watch the way that children will just run along the beach or run. You know, they just run and skip and jump up and down. That's joy. Like it's not given to you by anything. Like true joy, it just emerges. And so that's the difference. Like that's how you know. If you need something to give it to you, it's substitute. It's a substitute joy. You're using a crutch to get it. But if you just experience it, it's joy. And actually, you know, so, you know, I was like anybody else until the age of 35. I needed my substitutes. And I found natural joy when I went to live in the park. I had my Eckhart Tolle-like experience. The first morning I woke up in the park, before I opened my eyes, I heard a little bird. There was a bird singing to me, like the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. It might as well have been "Morning has broken," like that. You know, it was literally a little bird singing "Morning has broken" to me. I'd opened my eyes. It was like a scene from a Disney movie. The sun was dappling through the leaves. Rainbows were being cast off the dew. I was like, what is this? And pretty much from that point on, I was in joy. But I had no money. I'd given up a 70 grand a year job. I had a sleeping bag and a couple of bin liners. I had nothing. And I was nobody. Like I was selling the big issue. I was spat at, told to get a job, called a nigger, you know, I was the lowest of the low with nothing, filled with joy, like filled with joy. And so I've had a very dramatic and radical experience that, actually, and you talk about this a lot, when you strip away, so we all operate with roles and identities, husband, father, managing director, colleague, uncle, you know, wife, all of these different roles that we play. Nothing wrong with that, perfectly human. But we lose ourselves in the role. We forget that we are the actor behind all of the roles. We are the subject behind all of the roles. And when I went into the park, I kind of stumbled onto this. I didn't know what I was doing. I just said, I'm going to be a nobody until you show me the purpose of my life. That was my intention, just to strip everything away and find my purpose. And like I said, the first morning I woke up as a nobody, like I literally didn't know where I was. You know, like if you wake up in a strange place. So and before you wake up, you're like, where am I? And then you hear the bird and you think, oh my God, like I'm fucking living under a tree. But the experience was, I'm just a bloke living under a tree. Like I forgot I was a managing director or all these other things. And what I realized is that in that moment of being a nobody and not having any idea of who I was or what I was supposed to be doing, what emerged was my very being, my very existence, the fact that I beat the sperm and everything that you said, my very existence was bliss, like my very existence, because whatever it is that comes into this physical reality that makes it through the sperm, whatever vital life force makes it through, when it's in a body, when it's in this world, it's just grateful. Oh my God, I'm having experience. We're always like, well, I don't want that experience and I want that experience. Oh yeah, that experience. Yes, please. No, don't give me that experience. But the actual thing behind all the roles, it's all good. Like, it's like, I love all of it. And that's what I was like. I was living in a park, no money, spat at, told to get a job, the worst you can imagine. And I was like, yay! So it's just a complete joy is like completely different to what we mostly think it is.
Yeah.
And then what the other thing I discovered on top of that was I started selling the big issue from that place. So I basically started doing these chakra energy raising exercises to really ramp it up. Because, you know, I'm greedy, you know, it's not enough to be full of joy. I've got to be full of bliss. So I started doing these chakra exercises and I sold the big issue from that place. And before I did that, because I sold the big issue for about 2 weeks before I went into the park, and for maybe the first few days, and then I tried this experiment, I'd make about £5 to £8 an hour. And the big issue is a beautiful thing because it allows homeless people to have some independence because it's like your own business. Yeah. At the time, I'd buy the big issue for 50p and sell it for £1.20. And then if I made tips,
Chris, just tell people as well, for people listening, because I have a lot of people in America. So just the big issue is a magazine. Yeah, it's a magazine created for the homeless people around London. Yeah,
correct. This brilliant charity decided that it would print a magazine, a weekly magazine, and allow homeless people to sell it on the streets of London, so that they could earn some money, basically, be independent. And it's done like a business, because you go to the offices and you can buy as many magazines as you want for 50p, and then the cover price is £1.20, or it was back then. So you make a profit on every one you sell. So you're motivated to spend time selling the magazines. And when I was just selling normally, I've always been a salesman and I haven't got a problem selling. So I used to sell about 5 to 8 big issues an hour, which was, you know, 4 or 5 times as much as most big issue sellers. So I was doing okay. But when I added this joy and bliss to it, basically I went from 5 to 8 pounds an hour to 60 pounds an hour selling the big issue. Like, wow. I used to sell about 15 to 20 magazines in an hour, which is ridiculous if you think about it. But I'd make so many tips. This is the key, is that instead of giving me, so normally if it's £1.20, people give you £2. And, you know, if they're feeling good, they'd say, keep the change. Sometimes people will give you a £5 and say, keep the change. But when I started selling from Bliss, I regularly got £5s, regularly got £10s. So I was making, and people would say, they'd give me a tenner and say, keep the magazine. So what it was is that, I don't call it the law of attraction. I don't like the law of attraction, or certainly The Secret in the way it's couched. I know that it's based on principles which are true, but the way that The Secret is presented, what it does is it makes people want things. It makes people want material things to get happy. Whereas the whole point of the law of attraction is that, everything we do is for the feeling. Like, whatever it is that you think you want, it's because you want the feeling that it's going to give you. So actually, the law of attraction, forget the thing that you want, just go straight for the feeling. You can literally, this is what we talk about, you can create your own feeling. So you create your own joy. That's exactly what we're talking about. So, but I call it the law of radiance. What you radiate, you receive. And I learned it on the streets selling the big issue, because if I radiated bliss, and I'm not joking, Simon, people would run across the road to give me money. And if I had £1 for every time someone said to me, I've never bought the big issue before, but I just love your energy. Oh, I don't normally buy the big issue, but I just love your energy. I just wanted to give you this because I just love your energy. Over and over 7 months, a year actually, I sold the big issue. Over, and I love your energy. And I knew at that time I was radiating bliss. So it was obvious to me. It's like, not only is this natural joy, which you can build on and work on. Not only does it come from within, but if you express it, the world reflects it and it comes back to you. And you know, that's how I know that the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible is created by expressing the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. Then you will experience it. You will never experience it until you express it.
Exactly. I love that so much. And it's funny because it's what Charles Eisenstein, who obviously is one of the advocates of the new narrative of the more beautiful world. And one of the things that he wrote actually in his book, is that the more beautiful world can only be exactly what you said, but can only come into reality to the extent in which you believe it, right? To the extent in which you actually live it, like you just said. And I think that actually also, that brings us, and I want to just say thank you as well for sharing that story, because I really love the way that you break it down for people to understand. So one of the things that I love what you just said there, and again, I'm going to use myself, is substitute joy. And I'm going to come back to the point I was just about to make, but like substitute joy, I just want to acknowledge you in that, and just keep sharing that with people and people listening here, because the conversation I've had sometimes is like what you said, is that there's just, these people are caught in their substitute joy. They're caught in the addictions, the habits that give them joy. And then they keep going back to them thinking that they're going to give them joy. And then when they die, or they dissolve a little bit, or somebody leaves them, or, the football team dies or leaves, or whatever, the TV doesn't work, they can't get to their joy. All of a sudden they could become raging, bloody wild animals, right? Who are ready to attack and kill at will, right? And you're like, hold up, if you're experiencing real joy, you're not going to be able to harm anybody, put it that way. So, so I just want to acknowledge you in that. And also, one of the things that, as I love, again, I even say partner, I'm going to say Dara, because even this idea of relationship confinement kills me around joy, because people get to that point where they go, I need a relationship, I need another in order to fulfill me, right? It brings us into relationship joy. And again, damn right, I love having a playmates, and I love making love, and I love having sex and touch and so on, no question about it. But when you start to get in this joy that me and Chris are pointing to today, this it's like I often say, inner peace is not, inner peace is a deep sense of joy beyond the need for outside things to give you stimuli. So it's like when what Chris is pointing to, when people are coming across the road and go, I just love your energy, and he's just there, is that, there's an inner reserve, an inner place, a vastness, a stillness, but within that, it's almost like a nothingness, or Chris called himself a Mr. Nobody, but it's quite, again, paradoxical, because in that nobodiness, that nothingness, there's just this vastness and this everything, and it's like, so when we start to get into that place, and come into what we said about how you said that the more beautiful world can only be there to the extent in which we, believe it and project it and live it and be it, is that actually that brings in a big sense of strength, and the word sovereignty comes up, and the word powerful creator comes up, and the sense of this, divine life force, but you called it something else earlier, but this real sense of how we might seem very insignificant in those other states of being, but then when we step into this place that we're pointing to, this joy that's all around us in every moment, no matter, and me and Dara say that it's like being high on truth. The reason why I go on and bang on about transparency is that transparency is another vehicle, another access point to drop away all of that stuff, that noise, that suppressed energy, and to step into this transparent, lucid, clear, reflective, sovereign state, which is the essence of what Chris has pointed to, but then emanating that. And then, of course, interacting with life. Go to a football match if you want. Go and have a glass of wine if that's what you think you really want to do at that point. Do yoga. Go for a walk in the park. Sit down, do nothing. Whatever, because you're already in that state of joy.
I've got to jump in, Simon. So many things that you said have just inspired me to say a couple of things. So one of the reasons that I've been saying this, the more beautiful worlds our hearts know as possible, and saying the same things as Charles Eisenstein, is because he's kind of my mentor. So his book, The More Beautiful World That Hearts Know As Possible, is the most inspiring, clear, wise, brilliant, genius description of a lot of the things that I say, and I get a lot of them from him. So just want to say I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. Read that book, The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know As Possible, because it says probably everything that I'm trying to say better than I can say it.
This
what
one,
you were
Chris,
saying, that's the one. That's the one. That is the Bible. Beauty, absolute beauty.
Guess what? This book comes with me in my bag, and it's actually today supporting us in this conversation. And just like I want to just say the same thing. And just so you know, Charles Eisenstein says that what he brings through is standing on the shoulders of giants. So the point is I love what Chris just said there. This is one I'm actually reading this on Simon on the Sofa. I'm reading it live for people to listen to. And also, I'm like Chris, you know, I've sat with Charles Eisenstein a couple of times on the sofa. So if you're new to Simon on the Sofa and you don't know who Charles Eisenstein is, that book is a great introduction, and also come and check him out on Simon on the Sofa. But thank you for that. Carry on, Chris, carry on.
Yeah, okay. So that thing you were saying about transparency being another, and what you said, you and your partner said about, what do you say about truth?
Like a vehicle, high on truth, and like a vehicle to...
High on truth. So, you know, what I've experienced is that the three clearest signs, personally, that I am coming from my soul are joy, truth, and love. So getting back to that thing about what's natural joy, what's substitute joy, is that they're all the same thing. Joy, truth, and love are actually three versions of the same thing.
Beautiful.
And high on truth, same thing. So sometimes I'll, you know, my first experiences with this were when I was inspired to write a poem, and I called it Poem World. So what would happen is I'd hear a phrase in my head, you know, silently I'd hear a phrase, oh, and I'd be like, oh yeah. And I'd know that there was literally an iceberg of a poem underneath it. So I could hear the tip of it, but I knew 90% of it was hidden, and it was my job to bring it out. And in that space, it's joy, truth, and love. Like when you're inspired, if you're an artist and you're inspired to write a new song or paint something, or no, that space, joy, truth, that's your soul. Like, because there's the joy of creativity and discovery. There's a truth there. This is true. You know it's true because something's moving through you, something real that didn't exist before, that is literally your unique creation. You are literally bringing the invisible in. So there's a truth in it. And there's this just love of, oh my God, like creativity exists, music, words. It's just like a love. So that to me is a great, like, truth is the same as joy, and joy is the same as love. They're all three things. So when you experience those things in a combined way, you absolutely are on your soul. And the other thing I was going to say, joy, truth, and love. Oh yeah. So what we were talking about, you know what you were saying about substitute joys, and yes. You were saying about football and stuff like that. So I've got this perfect, you know, because I'm, you know, obviously I'm not perfect. That's obvious. You know, and I go through waves of things, and I go through cycles, and I have my patterns and stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at this stage, but there's still a long way for me to go. And one of my patterns is, so when I'm living my truth and I'm on purpose and what have you, everybody who knows me knows that I'm kind of writing and inspired, and I'm shiny and going around having all these ideas and conversations and no. But what I find is, like, when I'm not on my purpose, I become I'm a Spurs fan. I become an obsessive football and NBA basketball sports nut, like to ridiculous degree. So I'll find that I'll be watching the scores and all the nerdy stuff, like not even going to the games, like for the passion of it, but reading all the reports about the players, like mad waste of time. Like, and I'll spend hours reading about Spurs and NBA basketball. And I've realized that's my substitute. Like when I'm not, basically being my authentic self, my first substitute is nerdy, geeky stats, football and basketball. And then when I'm on it, I don't care about them at all. It's really funny. Like when I'm living my truth and no, I couldn't give a toss about any of that. But when I'm not living it, I'm literally can't stop. So It's a really clear substitute. And I genuinely, I'm the same as anybody else like that. We all have our substitute joys. And I'm not saying don't beat yourself up for it. Just be aware of it. Just be aware that, I see all this apparent passion desire to read all this football stuff. It's just a substitute. And actually,
Right.
if I'm following my natural joy, I don't care about it at all.
Right. And would you say that, because this is interesting, a lot's coming up for me as you as talking in terms of one of the challenges that I have at times is that I see the ignorance in the world. I see that where people are going. I can see people in their substitute joy, or what I call the pain body. I see pain bodies everywhere. Of course, I know when I'm in my pain body and not in it as well. So I know when I'm in that state that you say or not. And it's because I've been practicing this now for many years, I get a real clear indicator as well. Yeah, when I'm in that sort of space of, you call it going to geek out and stuff, but I will drop into whatever, sabotaging, procrastination. I drop into, putting more things on the list so that I don't get any of them done and overwhelming myself, whatever, right? So I go into my own avoidance and conflict. And I noticed that so now, and what we always say is that we shorten the gap. So one of the parts of the work that we spoke about earlier in the conversation is that one of the works is to find out when you're in that belief of, let's say, habits and addictions that are not serving your real joy, but that's serving your substitute joy, let's say, just for this conversation. And when you're actually in that true essence of being, being right now, in the now, not attached to past and future, not clinging to anybody, no codependency, no neediness, no needing to fixate or have an addiction to food, cigarette, tobacco, anything, right? So I think one of the points that come up as you were speaking was, if we look at the world right now, and I think of myself as a bit of a sort of motivational ambassador of love. So I want to spread more love and put more love in the world and encourage more people to step into their truth, just the work you're doing, and be on purpose and follow their bliss and shine and create this more beautiful world. Because I believe it's, not only do I believe, I know that it's here right now. And I know it's so beautiful when you see the sparkle in somebody's eyes when they realize that they are already worthy, they're already magnificent, and that they can make a difference, even on a morphogenic field perspective, which is again what Charles Eisenstein talks about in his book. But morphogenesis is that what you're doing here, how you're living, the work you're doing, the simple things you're doing, the cleaning, the purifying you're doing, every action and word that you speak is contributing on a morphogenic field to the whole damn universe. I mean, like, just sit with that for a minute. Like, the word has power. Like, the reason why I want to never lie again and speak truth is because the word has power. It's like, I want to put those words out there. Look at the first card I picked up today. I got here, I set up, put my computer together, and I thought, what's those little cards on the side just before Chris come on? And I thought, let me pick them up. And my friend Natalie, who's letting me use this space, she's positive, she writes, she listens to stuff, watches videos, and she puts positive stuff up around the house. This is what I picked up. Words have
wings, so speak good things.
Right?
Nice.
And, it's like, this is what I want to say to people viewing. If you've come this far with me and Chris, and I know Chris's camera's not been the greatest, but hopefully you can hear his beautiful wisdom and insights clearly, because I can. So I'm hoping everybody, you've got the essence and the transmission of this conversation. But listen, the message really is like, I feel for me and Chris will, bring something into this himself in a moment. But I really do live in my optimistic dream, I truly believe that as humans, if whatever, we don't wipe out just unexpectedly, or we have not gone too far based on, the evidence that the coral reef and the rainforest and so on and that stuff dying out. But within that, when you access this place of bliss, love, and joy, when you access the potential of you as a grand creator, that you contribute to the whole, when you own that, truly own that, when you take full responsibility of that, and you respond, right? Responsibility is just the ability to respond. And you respond in the way that Chris has described today, from that place of joy, from that place of, shining and showing up and daring to be great, as Polly Higgins would say, and stepping into your greatness. you know, as Marianne Williamson say, or Nelson Mandela said, is that we are scared to shine our light. But if you step in, you confront that fear, use fear as a friend, and you really truly step into that, then the potential of what's unfolding right now, because you're not alone. You meet Chris, there's millions of people on the planet doing this now. This message is not something that me and Chris are just bringing through. This is a message that many messengers have been bringing through for thousands of years. Socrates, Plato, many messengers have been bringing this through. But where we are right now is such a beautiful time of awareness, because you, wherever you are listening to this, you right now, no matter who you think you're imperfect, you think you're not good enough, all that jazz, is absolute bullshit. You are a grand creator. And when you take responsibility of that, and that your word has power, and that you can shine and dance and connect to that energy that we're sharing with you today, well, that's the work. That's it. That's a done deal. We are transforming the field of consciousness. You're playing a role in that. And this is not coming from a place of ego, thinking that it all revolves around you, the individual. No, there is no individual in that. We are a collective field. That blows my mind. That gets me out of bed in the morning. If that doesn't excite you, then I don't know what does. You know, so that's really what's coming through for me as Chris was speaking in that last offering that he shared. And Chris, I don't know if you like whatever again pops up for you, but we know we're about an hour in. You know, I know I did one thing I do want to do is bring in this Ikigai. How do you say it again?
Ikigai.
Ikigai. I'd like us to just maybe drop that on the screen, because I have it here on an image, and just maybe we just bring that to the world a little bit, because I know that's what you're doing right now. But I don't know if you want to speak to anything I just shared. I just got like this, I got that energy, that flow of just like pure tingles of just joy and truth. My head's buzzing right now. I mean, you know, it's like, I just, you know, that's a sort of transmission that I know can just, you know, it can end world poverty. It can end the deforestation. It can bring in solutions of magnitude. It can bring the coral back. It can transform, you know. So anyway, I'll leave you there with that.
I love talking to somebody that gets more excited and enthusiastic than me. Like, it's a very rare thing, but I love it, brother. Yeah, absolutely. It does get you when you, I suppose, when you have that recognition that we have it within ourselves, us as a species, us as people, we genuinely have it within ourselves to transform the world. When you know that, because you have experienced transforming your world, right, by being responsible. When you've done it yourself, like I know how I used to be a dick. I know how I used to complain and moan and bitch. I used to, how I used to get into negative thought spirals. I know all of the things that we talk about, substitutes, all of that, and still do in some ways. Not saying I'm perfect, right? But my general experience, like, you know, you've got your baseline. My baseline has gone from here to here. Like, so, I still, you know, I still fall to my baseline, and I can still be higher, but my baseline itself has gone up. And when you had that experience personally, and you know that you're not special, you're a miracle, but you're not special, you're not different to someone else, anyone else, then you just know that everyone can do it. Right. You just know that everyone can do it. You just absolutely know. And you see the only things that's stopping them. And let's make a little distinction here. I'm generally talking about us in the first world, who have the privilege of enough water to eat, enough food, and aren't being bombed by dictators. So yes. I must make that point, that when I say anyone can do it, I totally honor the fact that, unfortunately, in large pockets of the world, people's physical survival issues are such that they're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, that's another mode. And if I was speaking to somebody in survival mode, I would talk about Viktor Frankl and concentration camps, and I talk it very differently. But I'm speaking to people who have got the privilege of being able to eat, roof over their head, not in a war zone, etc.
Yeah,
for those of us.
And Chris, I want to just, that's a super acknowledgement there, because there are these different layers. And I just want to, again, thank you so much for making that distinction, because there are people out there that might even be watching this that feel that they're in survival mode right now, and that they, you know, they can't get up and do that. But I want to also say that I am out there for 7 years, from this perspective, doing stuff And like Chris said, when you do step in to make a few decisions, the universe will meet you halfway. Now, of course, the extent of our unconsciousness has created so much suffering for so many people that they are on, like Chris said, this, they don't even have a roof over their head, or they're being bombed. But again, what's so beautiful is even in those moments, like you said, Viktor Frankl, even in those moments, people shine, don't they, Chris?
Well, and that's the point I was going to make, is that actually, if you've ever worked with poor children in any of these, in Africa, Asia, South America, they are the shiniest people you'll ever fucking meet.
Right.
Like poor children in India, they get it. They've got nothing. So their joy is inner generated. So they totally, so I'm not saying they can't do it, or I'm just saying that if I were talking to someone, a refugee or somebody that has had great tragedy and has got incredibly difficult circumstances and conditions, which mean their first priority is how can I feed myself and how can I get warm? That would have to be acknowledged. But I would still have the same message. I would still have the same message that you have a core of power, you have a soul, you have a purpose. I'd still say the same thing. I just say it in a different way.
Right.
I just, because it's true of every human being, but I would take into account someone's circumstances. So the way I'm saying it now is for those of us in the privileged first world who tend to take for granted that privilege.
Exactly.
We focus on what we don't have, and when our iPad isn't working, and when it takes a bit long for the video to download, those are our problems, our first world problems. So when I'm talking to people like that, my focus is what we're talking about, which is that, and what came up for me when you were speaking, that impassioned recognition that whoever's watching this video, if they're able to respond, they can transform the world. It was this beautiful quote by Khalil Gibran. And so what I'm doing at the moment is I've started a meetup group called We're Here to Serve, based on the realization that I've had slowly over the last 15 years that, yes, I realized a long time ago, we're here to serve. That's obvious. The answer to the question, why are we here? It's obvious to a lot of people. We're here to serve. We're here to serve life. Life is the gift. Like, we're given the gift of nature, life, connection, sex, music, color. Everything we love about life is a gift. It's given to us.
Right.
And so obviously we're here to help that carry on, and help it life. We're here to serve life. It's obvious, yeah. But like most people, I have a conditioned understanding of service. Right. Service means sacrifice. Service means I can't do what I want to do. Service means giving up. Service means renouncing. And I had that going on, the Indian sadhu, give up everything. Can't, it's not about your joy and what you love. And obviously I struggled with that. I had that battle. Like, I know I'm here to serve, but no, I don't want to. I want to have sex and party, and I want to do fun things. I don't want to serve. So I had that battle going on. And then I had a series of realizations, but Khalil Gibran puts it best in his poem. He says, I slept and I dreamed that life was all joy. I woke and I saw that life was all service. I served and I saw that service was joy. Wow. That's the realization. That was the realization. And I had that realization. I had an experience where I was being quite successful as a one-legged existentialist stand-up beat poet and inspiration engineer, doing workshops and performances and courses. And I was living in Crouch End. I had a lovely flat. I had my lovely road bike, and I just had a lovely life. This was about 3 years ago. And I was on the tube. It's quite a long story, and I'm not sure how much time we've got. Shall I summarize it?
Summarize it if you can.
Yeah.
But we can do basically, we could do another conversation just on that another time. Not a problem.
Okay. Yeah. Believe me, we could. But I was on the tube, and basically, I was on a date, and I was in a really, really high blissful mood. And I was on the elevator in Hampstead. And that weird thing that basically when you get on an elevator, no one talks to each other on the elevator. It's kind of weird. And I just remember standing there in a packed elevator on whatever it was, Friday evening. And I just found myself saying naturally, isn't it funny how no one talks to each other on lifts? And everyone burst out laughing, like, because everyone was thinking the same thing. Like, it's weird. Like, there's a whole bunch of people and everyone goes quiet. Like, you just get into a lift, everyone goes quiet like that. And I just, isn't it funny? Like, and everyone laughed. And by the time we got to the top, we knew each other's names and like, oh, bye, have a nice time at the cinema. No. And it just was like, I was like, wow, that was so lovely. Like, and all I did was say what everyone was thinking.
Beautiful.
And then a few days later, I was on the tube and I thought of saying it again. And when I had the thought of saying it, massive fear of speaking to people on the tube.
Right.
Because I wasn't in that blissful place. And I was like, oh my God, I'm afraid of people. Like, think about it. What's the worst thing that could happen if you speak to people on the tube or the train, whatever? The worst thing that happens is they ignore you or laugh at you. That's the worst thing. And I am a performer. I stand in front of hundreds of people and talk as a job. But I was massively afraid of doing it on the tube. Right. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, it blew my mind. Like, I was angry at myself for being afraid, but more than anything else, I felt like a fraud. I thought, I'm an inspiration engineer. I go around inspiring people, but if I can't inspire people on the tube or down the shop or at the bus stop, I'm a fraud. Like, it's all very well to do, and it's nice and easy when people are all lovely and nice hippie, you know, gathering, and people are all excited to see you. But if you don't, where is the darkness? The darkness is in the world. Like, that's where I need to shine. So I had this profound realization. And so I tricked myself into basically, whenever I went on the tube or the bus, I said to myself, just once every day, if I do 3 or 4 trips, I will do my thing. I will be myself. I will share my joy and And all it meant is that I basically was on the tube or the bus or the train. I'd say, morning, ladies and gentlemen, please don't be alarmed. I'm not a beggar. I'm not a busker. I don't want your money, but I do like to challenge social taboos. And I think this weird social taboo on London transport, where we're not supposed to be human, like, oh my God, don't make eye contact. Oh, for heaven's sake, don't talk to strangers. I think it's a bit weird. And I think that we're human beings and we are curious and we are friendly. So I just like to say good morning and see if I can get a good morning back. Good morning, everyone. And basically, most of the time, most people would say good morning. And basically, I've been doing that for the last 3 years, and I've done it hundreds of times. I did it for a year in London, then I did it for a year and a half in Devon, and now I do it in Bristol. And people always say to me, oh, I bet people are angry and ignore you. And people always are so terrified for me. Like, and I say to them, I've been doing it for 3 years. Let me tell you what happens. Instead of you're projecting your fear of the taboo onto me, let me tell you what actually happened. And what actually happened is about a dozen standing ovations, 100 people stopping me before they got off and shaking my hand and thanking me, 1,000 laughs, 1,000 smiles, job offers, girls giving me their phone numbers, someone wrote a thesis on me, journalists interviewing me. What happened was magic. What I found was everybody's just waiting for somebody to break the ice. And because I was the one breaking the ice, everyone just became human and the taboo was cast off. That's what I found. But more to the point, what I did is...
Wait there. Slow down for a minute. Wait there. What do you mean more to the point? I just got pure tingles from that. That's like my whole arms, all of my hairs went on end. That's huge. That is the point. Like,
that is the point.
Wanting to say exactly what... what you was brave enough through that experience that you had of confronting your fear to actually feel that. Like, look, that's such a beautiful story. Let's carry on. It's like that is,
thank you.
That itself is juicy, but carry on. What's the point?
No, but totally. But the point is that it transformed my authenticity. So you talk a lot about transparency and authenticity. So up until that point, I was very comfortable doing my thing in comfortable environments. Right. When I started doing it everywhere that I went, what I realized is that fear it's just ego, obviously. Like, you know, the only thing no one was going to hit me or punch me or take my money. All I was afraid of was my ego being laughed at or being ignored. That's all it was.
Right.
It took me about a month of doing it for that fear to die down to a normal level, like the same fear you get if you're a performer and you go on stage, a nice bit of nerves. So that's what I get now, a nice bit of nerves, and that's good. But the paralyzing fear, it took about a month of doing it every day to get rid of it. And yeah, so what the point I wanted to make was that I had to face my fear to do it, but I loved doing it. I loved talking to people. And what I started doing was basically wearing my headphones and singing and dancing. So it morphed from saying hello to everyone to basically singing at the top, like singing Justin Timberlake. You don't know, you know, Cry Me a River. Cry Me a River. I'd be singing that, and I'd be singing classics and all sorts of tunes and dancing and basically making people laugh and all that kind of stuff.
But 1 minute, Chris. So when you say it morphed into it, so it morphed from you sort of doing that intro.
Yeah.
Did you continue doing the intro? Because just so you know, we're obviously very similar, as you know.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. So I talk to people on tubes and I break silence, and I've had the exact same experience of a number of times where, just a fear comes up and you're like, I can't say anything, right? So I totally relate to everything you're saying. But I'm interested in pushing my boundaries and doing this more on the streets and so on. So what I want to know is, you morphed into like still doing the intro, or you'll just go on and start entertaining them with singing and dancing?
So I did the intro thing for about 3 months. And it got to the stage where I wasn't afraid of it, that it was like, oh, right, okay, this is just what I do. And what I realized is that because I was so comfortable now, it had kind of become another performance. So for the first couple of months, it was really a bloke just facing his fear and just reaching out and saying, look, we're all human beings. Let's talk to each other. And that was profound. It was profound. But it got easy. It got easy. And I was realizing, well, okay, I've got to ramp it up because I don't want to get complacent and lazy again. And what I realized is that I'm the type of person, I sing and dance around the house. Like, I like my music and I sing and dance. And then I noticed I'd go out onto the street and I'd stop singing and dancing. And I was like, that's that same thing. And why am I afraid of people seeing me singing and dancing? Right. So I promised myself, if I felt like it, if I felt joyful, if I liked the music, I would carry on doing what I do in my house on the tubes and the bus. So it morphed into me basically singing, like on full out singing and dancing on rush hour trains. It's such a beautiful experience. And what it was is that obviously it's more difficult in the rush hour because people are very grim, especially on the tube. You're closed in, the energy's dense, and I could feel it. And it was such an interesting experiment. The first time I did I can't remember, it was Finsbury Park to Bank, I think it was, on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock or something. And I'm there and I'm singing Fat Freddy's Drop. And I'm dancing. And
Which one's Fat Freddy's Drop? Give it to me.
Flashback. Something natural in the way you touch me. It's a feeling that I can't describe. Something mystic in the soul connection. Something magic in your misty eyes. Don't you say that it's all the same, etc., etc. And I know it off by heart. It's my favorite tune. I sing it all the way through. And so to me, it's kind of this interesting thing. So it's like, I'm doing it and I can feel the daggers, because some people are like, don't disturb my morning ritual. And actually I totally honor people's right not to be disturbed on the tube. So I'm not trying to force it on anyone, but I also honor my own right to stand and be joyful. Like I can, because it's the tube and it's rush hour, that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to be happy, right? So I can feel the kind of daggers. But then it's just this amazing thing that happens, is that as long as I am genuinely expressing my soul and not trying to impress anyone or not trying to change anyone, but just if it's a bloke just being joyful, what happens is, because I've done it a couple of times when I've had a drink and it changes the energy.
Right.
And I've done it a couple of times when my friends were filming me and it changes the energy. So I learned that it's just got to be me just doing it, like for the joy. But when I do it that way, I've literally had a whole horrible Bank rush hour train shaking my hand and smiling as they got off. Like, and it's just a transformation, because we're all human. That's all it is. We're all human. And like, whenever I'm on stage and I say to people, how many people here sing and dance around the house? And almost everyone puts their arm up. So when you do it on the tube and you keep doing it, well, that's not supposed to be happening. You can't do that. That turns into, oh yeah. It just turns into, oh yeah, that's just a bloke doing what we all do, but he's doing it on the tube. And then people say, oh, it just becomes a normal thing. Yeah. So my thing is that what I realize is that I don't have to sacrifice anything to serve. What I need to do is follow my joy, face my fears. And so service is joy. So now I have this thing. So my practice for the last 5 months is, and it's the greatest practice I've ever found. And my battery might run out, so I want to make sure I get this. This is the greatest, I call them mini mystic practices. So I've got lots of little practices that connect me to that Eckhart Tolle place, that park place, very easily on a day-to-day basis, so I don't have to have the peaks and troughs. This is how I found balance, a little bit every day. And my best practice is, whenever I'm out in the world, whenever we're out in the world, we'll have an agenda. We want certain things and we don't want certain things. We'll have this, under the surface, unconscious agenda. We're looking to have our needs met. It's perfectly natural, perfectly human, no problem, not complaining, not saying it's bad. But what it does is it blocks you from your joy, right? Because it's fear-based. And what I've found is, when I'm in those situations, if I switch from how can I get what I want, how can I meet my agenda, to how can I serve, what can I give here? If I just make that switch of focusing on what I can give to the moment, the space, the person, honestly, all my problems get solved. Like, everything I need comes to me if I focus on serving. And if you think about it, it's just logically speaking, if everybody in the world, or just everyone in a group of people, focused on how they can serve the group,
exactly,
everybody would get their needs met. So instead of the competition, we live in a world that's a competition. If you get yours, I can't get mine. You've got to make money. You've got to get, we're in this competition. So everyone's competing for attention, approval, love, status, fame, power, etc., etc. We're all competing. If we just realize that, if instead of scrabbling and fighting for it, you gave it, you served, everybody would get back. And so that's my thing about serving, is that serving is joy for me now, because as I'm doing it, my world becomes the more beautiful world that's possible. I don't feel like a martyr. I know a lot of people give, but they give from a place of need. They give from the agenda place. And that is going to leave you feeling unappreciated and burnt out. But if you're giving from that soul place of, what does the moment need from me? What can I serve? What's my role here? You don't get burnt out, and actually you get more power and more energy. And so that's my message. That's what I do with the Ikigai Mastermind. That's what I do. And all of the work that I do is connect people to their purpose and their soul. And that is an inexhaustible supply of energy and power. And it means that you can serve and follow your joy and feel full of energy and alive at the same time.
Beautiful. Is your battery dead?
It's about to go, mate. It's down to about 4%.
Okay, we have to wrap up then. Okay, so listen, there's so much we could talk about that. Maybe what we should do is another call. I'm just going to try and bring something up. If your battery dies, that's your goodbye. Okay.
Okay.
So just the beautiful thing you said there. You said 5 little mystical things. I love what you say. Service is not sacrifice. Boom. I mean, when you fall in love with yourself, you fall in love with the planet, and the only thing that love does is serve. There's no opposite in love. I love that. What can I give, not what can I get? I mean, that's such a beautiful teaching. It's like another so simple one. And you say it so beautiful as well, the gift of giving, right? The gift economy. If there's enough for everybody's need, not enough for everybody's greed. If we all just gave openly and continued, that we would support everyone. But I mean, we're a little far away from that. However, there are movements like the gift economy. Polly Higgins does it. Charles Eisenstein does it. I do it. My events are predominantly done on gift. We do gift share, we do cost share, then we do gift on the retreat that I host, and other workshops and so on that we do. So I'm moving more into the gift. Yeah, and what we find with the gift is that when you trust in that things don't have to come to you in a linear way, like actually it's like what Chris said earlier, when you talk about the universe meets you halfway and he starts getting these different gifts coming from here, there and everywhere, like when he's on the tube, the tubes, the London tubes have become Chris Paradox's platform for confronting his fears. I mean, what a beautiful way and inspiration. Talk about inspirational engineer. That's a very, some might call an extreme way, but I think you'll agree, those watching, is that it's not about copying Chris today or myself in anything we do, but it's about finding out what is the platform for you to confront your fears. Not from that place of ego needing to be seen or needing to be recognized, like the camera coming on, or the ego boost because he's had some alcohol. Yeah. This is about like just being really in your joy. So Chris, why don't you say goodbye? Have you gone? He's gone. There he is. Look, just the face of Chris. He's gone. Ah, wow. Okay, well, it's just me now. Just me. I was going to ask Chris to do a little bit of spoken word because he's a poet and a spoken word artist, and he does performance poetry. We didn't get to that. I was going to show you the Ikigai mastermind model that he uses, which I could maybe quickly show you that. Let me just see if this works. Because it might be here. Thank you all if you're still listening. I know we're about an hour and 40 in. This for me is what these conversations are all about. You can't always just have a half hour. You can still get juice in a 3-minute video. You can get juice in a 3-minute conversation. But the dance of the conversation is what I'm really all about. It's the dance of the conversation. It's like where the conversation goes and how it breaks down for different people and so on. So let's just, no, I don't know if you can see that clearly. It's not very good quality. No. Okay. Well, I will post it. I will post it underneath the video, which is already there actually. If you go into okay, let's wrap it up then. It's just me left. Just me, myself, and I. Okay, everybody, thank you for viewing. Thank you for the live viewers being with us today. And thank you to everybody that's supporting me on Patreon and rocking and rolling. I thought I had a preset before. Yeah, here we go. Look at that one. .com/Simon on the Sofa. If you'd like to become a patron and contribute $1, $2, $3, $10 per video that I put on Patreon. All the videos are still free. All the conversations are free, accessible on YouTube and on my website, simononthesofa.com. But to become a patron is for you out there who would like to enjoy more of these conversations and basically support me. Like the computer we're watching this on, the patrons have helped contribute to. So this is a new computer that I have. And thanks to you beautiful patrons, some of your contributions, your pledges have helped pay part of this computer, which I actually got because my beautiful brother is an amazing man at finding great products online. He found me a refurbished computer, Mac computer, because I needed it for editing. I thought I was going to need £2,000 or £1,000 to buy one, but he found me this awesome refurbished one for, I think we paid about £550 in the end, and we bought a hard drive as well, an external hard drive, because I need to hold the content of my live edits on there. So you see how you supporting this through these small gifts, if people are just giving $1, $2, how when a group of people come together, all of us create more. And this is part of what Chris was talking about. So that's a little bit. I'm here, I'm in Malta, I'm traveling around, I'm creating these conversations among many other things in order to support you, support myself, to stay plugged in to the more beautiful world, living high on truth, living in gratitude, breathing in this beautiful life force, and cherishing this gift of life. For me, it's just not rocket science. It's very simple. And maybe for you it is too. And maybe for you, this is so far away. You know, I do work with people and meet people that this way of being and thinking is so far away from them. But it's not as far as they think. It's just that we have to get out of the way with all that other identity and stuff that we spoke about today, so that we can drop into this ocean of love and joy that's already here. So thank you so much for listening, and sending you love wherever you are. And also I'm going to do a little talk on, for people out there who want to also create conversations like this, transparent communication, communicating like this. Like, I started not knowing what to do. Yeah, you just start. So if you're out there and you want to create conversation like this with inspiring people that you know, then please trust me. Just begin. Learn as you go along. You only learn from being in the arena. You learn from doing and getting into the experience. So if it's a thought that you've got in your mind, some people have written to me, some people have said, oh, I'd love to do what you're doing, but you know, I can't do this, I can't do that. Trust me. I start everything by not knowing what I'm doing, and then I learn by experience. So sending you love. I really honor you for tuning in for an hour and 45. The book that we spoke about today was Charles Eisenstein's book. Me and Chris love it. You can listen to me reading this book on some of the videos on my YouTube channel. And other than that, wow, the wellness of the nowness. Take care. Lots of love. Stay blessed. You are enough. Write it on every mirror, wherever you go. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. Reprogram yourself to realize the truth of who you already are. You are already magnificent. You are not imperfect. That is a bullshit story. Time to rewrite the program. Love you.